Well, upon request, today we're going to take a look at the Buck Inertia. Well, hey folks, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another episode here at Gideon's Tactical. I am your host, Aaron, and that's right. This is more of a request video, request review. I've had the Buck Inertia on my radar for quite a while. I've been kind of on the fence about it. Should I pick it up? Should I not? Several of you in recent months have been commenting, saying, dude, you got to pick up the Buck Inertia and test it out. I love it. You know, you guys have been, several of you have been saying that. So I said, okay. I went out over to Amazon, picked this guy up for about $35. They float between $35 and $45. I'll have links in the description below over to Amazon and Blade HQ. That's always a great way to help support the channel. Literally pays to help me purchase gear like this so I can give you my feedback. Plus, don't forget about our Knockaround Sunglass affiliate as well. If you're looking for inexpensive but really high-performing sunglasses, Knockaround produces some amazing stuff for male, female, kids, and they even have a custom shop. Go check them out. All of those links below, and that literally does help support the channel. When you guys use those hyperlinks, it's free for you and helps us continue to do what we do. So thank you for your continued support. So we have a USA-made, open-assisted, 420 high carbon, liner lock, pocket knife. That's what we're looking at here with this Inertia. And I really do like the lines of it. It really connects with me. There are a lot of aspects that I'm in love with. There are a few things that we're gonna have to look at today and see whether or not I can overlook them or if they're hangups for me. And that's what I find a lot of times with Buck, so we're gonna see if this is the case, is that the concept is there. I like a lot of the aspects, but then there will be like one thing that I'm just like, man, this pocket knife in particular does not connect with me unless it's like their classic line of the like 112 Ranger, the 110. You know, those type of knives have always connected with me and they're classic and iconic, but a lot of their more modern feel pocket knives always seem to fall short for me. So I want to see, I'm going in with an open mind for the Inertia to see if it has the capability, if there's some things that are just too much of a hang up for me. We got to find out today. So let's go ahead and break this knife down and see whether or not it's going to be the right folder for you. All right, let's go ahead and talk about why you're buying a knife, the blade. That's what we're going to be looking at. That's what we're going to be discussing on this blade here. Nice, cool effects there in the light. And to kind of just give us some context, I'm going to be running in some other blades that we're going to run this up against a lot, because if you're looking at this one, you're probably going to be looking at these. I do have with me the Kershaw USA made 1776, I believe is the model number. Yep. On the link right here. And then I do have the Dividend, which I think is 1812. Yep, 1812. So right there. Now, these are special editions that you can get over at, what's it called? House of Blades. They are S35 VN, some tricked out colors, deep right pocket clip, both about 90 bucks. Now, the normal ones you're going to find on Amazon Blade HQ. They are USA made, 420 high carbon steel blades, and will be coming in right around the same price point of about $35, right where the Inertia is. That's why I want to run these in here. They're finger flippers, they're open assisted, they're liner locks, so very similar in their layout. And then just for fun factor here, and for competitive option stuff that we'll talk a little bit later, got an S30V blur. Think of the Sandvik blur. That'll have some context in a little bit. And then from Buck, limited edition from what I understand, I think. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus in here. If I get this guy, there we go. Ranger, Buck 112. This one has charcoal black inlays there. I put on a thumb stud. And let's see here. There it is. 5160 blade steel. I love this knife. This is like ultra cool. And I am rocking a Hitch in Timber leather pouch that I carry that little bad boy in. It fits perfectly in your coin pocket and you can whip it out really nice and easy. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and actually look at this blade. USA made, 420 high carbon steel. It's always fun to see that. It's always good to see that, being a boy of the US. And I like the piercing shape of the blade. It's got a massive swedge up here that's about 3/4 of the blade into a hollow grind, good spear point tip there, good precision without it being overly, you know, thin. It's going to be 1/8 of an inch thick, hollow grind, not a massive amount of belly. It's definitely more of a little bit of a piercer and a spear than it is like a big giant, you know, belly. If you look here at the link, you can see way more belly, not quite as piercing on its design than this guy. I think the Sandviks, or sorry, I think the 420s are hollow. That might be a saber. I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, and then from the handle to the tip is 3.125. Actual cutting edge is going to be like 2.9, right around that size range. Just give you, again, for the Kershaw, some perspective here when I line up those flippers and try and get those ricassos lined up. The Kershaw is just a hair longer at 3¼ inches overall. I know it's hard for me to do on camera and everything else, so very, very close. Overall in size range, great size range. And, you know, USA made buck 420 high carbon. They do some of the best. Kershaw does also do some really good 420 high carbon. That would be on these guys over here. And somebody once was giving me a hard time. What, you know, high carbon is 420. I said, well, what do you think the HC stands for? You know, like hard cookies or something, hard candy. So anyway, so they do some of the best heat treat around. It's decent for the price point of $45. It is kind of on the lower end of steels from what we're seeing from a lot of Chinese companies, as well as these guys you can get for about 35 to 40, whereas this is like 35 to 45 right now. That when I'm making this video, it's $45 on Amazon. I did pay 35 for it a little while ago. And then you know, when you're talking about like the Sandvik versions of the Kershaw Blur, you can get them between 45 and 55, and that's going to be a better steel overall. So something to think about. The edge retention is decent for the price point and for a USA made knife. There's definitely better stuff for that price. D2 steel on steel wills, you know, all of that. But they won't be USA made. This blade, though, with the hollow grind piercing tip was epic in EDC performance. I was really happy with it in just how it sliced, how it went through cardboard, how it went through nylon rope, how it went through my rubber testing. Just all the different stuff you would want an EDC knife to do. Sick. It's delicious. I've been saying that a lot with my videos. It's tasty. It's good. It's nutritious. Makes you feel good that you bought your knife. And when you bust it out, it's always good when you see your knife just eat through material versus like having to fight through it. And not because of edge retention, but because of grinding and anglage. So the angle is just really done well with this particular buck. And I like the design of the blade. The 420 high carbon is decent. Not the best that you can find for that price point, but it is okay. So the Inertia comes with several different sizes and blade steels. I believe that they do, and I think even they have an auto that's almost exactly like this. So they have this design they seem to really gravitate to. They do have this version, which is the cheaper one. I think they have like a stainless steel handled version, and then I think they have a G10 S30V version of this. So they're all very similar. There's really no difference in their blade shapes. It's just going to be in the steel and in handle material. But like the flipper actions and the pocket clip availability, all that does not change between all of the Inertias. So that you could take what you see in this video and look at the more expensive versions or different handle versions, and it's all going to be the same. So on this one, it is a glass reinforced nylon over stainless steel liners. And what we're getting is some cool kind of cutouts. So you can kind of see the stainless steel in there, which is nice. It will come in at 3.8 ounces, which is good for this size with an open assist and all the different things. Under 4 ounces, that's great. Zero complaints there. They contoured all the angles as well. That's always a good thing that I really like to see is when a company contours their handles well. And even the pivot, you know, looks nice on either side there. No lanyard hole. You can kind of run a lanyard through the pocket clip there, but no lanyard hole. It is going to be 4.5 inches overall length. You've got a really nice cut in here with the flipper, so I've got really good traction. You know, I'm not accidentally going to slide up and hurt myself. Still pretty close to the ricasso and the actual edge, so you don't have this big long distance, which is nice. No jimping on the top to speak of, and just really really well-rounded. A little bit of a contouring down, fits my large size hands perfectly. No hot spots, and has a good thickness of about 1/2 inch. With another Zytel, or you know, nylon, same material as on the sides, nylon centerpiece back there. Not really flow through construction. There's just a little tiny gap there. They could have cut down a little bit of weight probably if they had backed that up a little bit more. Been a little easier to clean out, but zero hot spots. Just feels really comfortable, super natural in the hand, but it's not going to be super bulky or heavy in your pocket either, which is a big selling point. So great handle ergonomics, and for the price point, not super heavy traction, but these cut-ins do give you a little bit to grip onto, and then that flipper acts as a guard. So you could use this absolutely, you know, last-ditch tool if you needed to. I don't recommend that, but if you know what you were doing or you had to, you could be used in that way as well with the traction on the knife. All right, well, with a name like Inertia, this better have some good action to it. And that's really where we're going to find some hangups that we'll talk about in a second. Now, the first thing is the centering. I was happy with the centering. It's dead center, really hasn't floated one way or the other. There's not a lot of tolerance for one way or the other, so it's good that it has not floated with the action and playtime that I have had with it. Playtime. Let's go have a play date with our knives with this design. So we do have that liner lock right there. Now, it is an eye hole or finger flipper. The eye hole does not work great. Just as we're going to do deployment before we talk about this whole hot mess right here. But it is doable. It does bite in pretty good. I could deploy it that way. I wouldn't, but you can do that, right or left. It is designed as a flipper. So you do have this little flipper right here. It's not super large. And when you hit that, the spring's okay. Nothing to write home about. I would say most speed safes are going to be faster in their deployment. You can just see that. Faster than this buck. It's kind of like, hey, could you open that knife for me? Yeah, no problem. So it's decent. The liner lock is hitting 50% of the blade right there. It's on the thin side, but similar to the dividend. Or similar to the link, though the link I believe is a little bit bigger and thicker. But for EDC folder, which is really what it's designed for, no complaints. I don't have any complaints with the strength. There is definitely wobble left and right, and very, very minor rock up and down. Yeah, there is slight rock up and down, but very, very minimal on that. So the lockup is decent. I have none up and down on the Kershaws. None up and down on the Kershaws, just a hair side to side. So the lockup is tighter on these Kershaws than on the pivot here. And it doesn't have a pivot screw either to mess with. You would have to have like some sort of specialty tool, I guess, to tighten and play with that pivot. So I'm not super stoked about that. The flipper is slightly more recessed than like on the Link, which the Link is probably the more like similar in size. Just to show you, the flipper is smaller, and that might be some of the speed thing as well. You don't have a lot of like oomph to put on your finger to get it to go. But really, that wouldn't be if that's all it was. If it was just kind of a slow assist, I would be like, dude, buy this knife if you like a USA knife and you don't want the Kershaw Link or Dividend. Get this, buck. It's going to be awesome. The issue that I have is with this goofball hot mess lockup right here, this secondary locking mechanism that all of the Inertias will have from what I have seen when I did my research. They all seem to have this option. And so this is how this thing plays out, just to kind of give you a little example here, and if we can keep the camera focused. So you have this little hump here. Let's see if we can get it to, right? And when this little lever is moved forward, I cannot engage the flipper. It will not deploy the knife. So what I end up having to do is I have to grab this guy, which is kind of sharp, kick it back, then deploy the knife. Now this thing is sticking up in the air. Now it's just like rattling around. And then for me to properly use the knife, I'm going to need to push it. It's going to recess itself into the handle. Now I'm going to grip, use the knife. It's completely out of the way. And then when I go to lock up the blade, it's going to then press it up and out like this. So now it's goofy and all over the place. Now at least I can, hit the blade again if I needed to. But if I'm going for I used it, now I'm closing up my knife. Now I have to push this little guy again to lock it into place. Then when I pull it out of the pocket, I have to go through the whole process again. It's the most irritating, one of the most irritating backup safeties I've ever seen in my life, because it has to be used every single time. SOGs have a safety, but you don't have to mess with it like this. It's only if you want to use it. This is the biggest pain in the neck. I hate it. This kills the knife for me, guys. I'm just being real with you. And because I'm not seeing any screws to be able to, well, you have two right here, but I don't see any for the pivot. I don't know how you could take this apart and remove this. Maybe you can, and if if you have it, maybe you can mess with the whole thing and just remove this little safety feature. I don't see it being super complicated in there, but it's annoying. It's super annoying, and I don't like it, and it kills the knife for me. It just doesn't make sense when we look at, again, price point. So I'm going to have links in the description below for all of these guys, all these knives that you're seeing here today. So if you don't mind it and you actually absolutely love this, great, cool, whatever. But you're probably not. And so if you did want this and you're like, dang, that sucks. Now that I've heard that info, what do I buy? My recommendation is most likely going to be on the link because it's so similar in size. Quality aluminum handle scales. Very similar though, USA made, 420 high carbon. If you wanted to go just a hair smaller, but actually have about the same size blade, then go with the Dividend. This is an awesome light duty EDC. And then, if you wanted to upgrade even slightly more and you're a righty, I would go with a Kershaw Blur in either S30V for about $65 to $70 or a Kershaw Blur in the Sandvik steel for $45 to $55. So, and all these will be open assisted and just have better lockups and will not have that goofy safety. The safety kills the Inertia for me. And if you're looking for a buck pocket knife, it's going to be this for me. And this is the frustrating thing is I love these classic bucks. I mean, they're just so amazing and so much fun and so iconic and just so memorable. And so I'm wishing that their modern knives would just come along and be as cool. I think Buck has the potential, and they're a great company in the sense of like a lot of their, being around for so long and, history behind them and whatever. But there always seems to be this type of thing happening where I like everything about the knife, but then there's some goofball thing, or like the liner lock is really bad and doesn't work well, or the pocket clip is just really jacked up, or there's always just seems to be something with the pocket knives from Buck that I've tested in their more modern line. Their originals are amazing. I love the blade shape, love the design of the knife, and overall handle ergonomics, overall price point, everything that they're giving. It's just that little safety totally throws it off. It's not intuitive. It's this goofy thing you constantly have to use and manipulate, and it's just not fun to use the knife. Whereas these blades from Kershaw, for open assisted features, USA made, 420 high carbon, about the same price, are just going to be a lot easier and a lot more fun and just better performers, in my opinion. Well, folks, there you have it. This little switch is the killer. I want to love this knife. I like everything else about it. USA made, the price, the performance, the ergonomics, the pocket clip, all of it really works for me. It connects with me. But that little safety tab is just such a goofball hindrance to me that I'm constantly playing around with that it's a no-go for me. And this just doesn't carry enough inertia to make me fall in love with the blade. There's just so much else on the market that doesn't have this silly locking mechanism for me to jack around with. So if you can get over it and you like it, every other aspect of it is fantastic, and I would totally recommend it. If you see that this could kind of be an annoyance to you as well, pass on it. It will drive you insane. So I hope that this video, guys, has just helped you out, show you what the Inertia can do, what it can't do, the things I like about it, the things I don't, so that you can make that wise choice. That's what we always want to do here with these videos, is give you guys the data points so then you can go, dude, I can totally overlook that safety feature. In fact, I like it. Or you go, wow, I didn't realize that safety feature was a pain in the neck and I am not interested in that blade anymore. That's what we always want to do here at the channel with these reviews. So thank you so much for coming over here today and checking out the channel. Don't forget about the mailbag. Again, put hashtag mailbag in the comments below and you might get one of your questions answered, so you don't want to miss out on that relationship and that communication, that fun factor. Check us out Instagram, Facebook, throwing up stuff like that all the time, different informational stuff, different way to connect with me. Sometimes we do sales, sometimes I sell used products, like this guy maybe, I'll put up links to my eBay account and, we'll sell those off or, do whatever. So lots of different things going on over on the social media pages. And don't forget about the GT show, the Gideon's Tactical Show. It goes up every Saturday. It's a completely different feel. It's not a review. It's more of a informational, fun, sit down chat. We have guests, we have topical discussions, sometimes having to do with gear, sometimes not at all. It's another cool way to just have a entertaining experience here over at Gideon's Tactical. We want to continue to offer that to you guys week after week. So finally, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.